Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to JMMB Group's investor briefing. We're very, very excited to be here. Thank you for everyone who has joined. I see we're now at about just over 40 attendees. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited about this session because we are here to talk about JMMB Group's Q2 financial results, which we posted, I believe it was on Friday afternoon. And we're here to share the highlights from those results with you. It was a fantastic period of performance. And we're also going to use the opportunity to give you an update, as always, on JMMB's strategy, or how we've been doing so far since the start of the financial year, and the exciting things that are going to come for JMMB Group. So this is going to be a great session, and we invite you to stick with us as we go through the motions here. How we're going to run it is quite simple and straightforward. We're going to be having a main presentation by a few members of our executive team. And then after that presentation, we're going to run it for about 45 minutes or so. And then after that presentation, we're going to open the floor for Q&A. Joining us on this call primarily, we have members of the media from across the region, as well as broker analysts from across the region. So folks will have the opportunity to ask their questions in the Q&A button at the bottom there. You should see it in Zoom, the Q&A button. Feel free to share your questions. We're going to open the floor. And as always, this session is being recorded. We're recording it and then uploading it and posting it on our YouTube channel for anyone to view at their convenience. My name is Carrie-Ann Stimson. I'm so excited to welcome everybody. I don't know if I shared that. I'm Carrie-Ann Stimson, Group Chief Marketing Officer here at JMMB, and I will introduce you to our presenters as we go through. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, we're going to kick off our main presentation with Claudine Tracy. She's our Group Chief Strategy Officer, who's really just going to level set for us and give us an overview to get things started. Claudine?
Thank you so much, Carrie. Hearing me okay?
Hearing you just fine. Thank you. Welcome.
Perfect. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So before we jump into the numbers, we wanted to kind of just remind our viewers about who JMMB is as a group. Almost 30 years ago, we can move to the next slide. We started off our operations in Jamaica as an unknown broker-dealer with dreams of creating a different kind of financial institution region-wide. And so today we stand as a strong, diversified regional player, serving more than 380,000 clients, operating in 3 countries as at now, and serving our clients through 15 client-facing companies. We have become even stronger in the midst of our pandemic and when our CFO goes through the numbers, the evidence is there for itself. We've achieved the record-breaking balance sheet performance and returns for our shareholders. And so we are very proud of where we stand right now as a group, united strong, one client, one group, and one experience. And so we look on the menu of financial services that the JMMB Group is offering today, as we progress to the next slide. We have really seen that over the years, through acquisitions and greenfield investments, we've been really able to build out our range of financial services across banking, investments, remittance, payments, insurance brokerage, capital markets, you name it. Right now, our business line is the dominant segment, really having been the pioneers in our countries of operations in terms of bringing fixed income instruments like repos to unlock value for our clients. We enjoy a dominant market share, particularly around that business line. And our investment complete segment dominates right now. However, we have over the years placed strategic focus on diversifying and on growing, particularly our banking business line. We have seen very impressive growth over the years, particularly in Jamaica and the DR, where in both markets our banks outpace the market growth, and their market shares in their respective banking markets have been growing steadily across time. And so really that's just the backdrop of who we are as a group. And, as we get into performance and particularly in our strategic outlook, we will see where we're moving towards. Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you, Claudine. And it's always a great reminder to know, because there are so many of us that think that, boy, JMMB is really just about investments. And then there are some of us who do banking business with JMMB and really don't know all of the length and breadth of everything that we do and the fact that we are across the region. So thank you so much for highlighting that for us, Claudine. And now again, without further ado, I'm happy to introduce you to this handsome gentleman beside me here. We're appropriately distanced in this setting. If you know him well, you will know him to be our Group Chief Financial Officer, or Group CFO, Mr. Patrick Ellis. He's the man with the numbers, and he's going to walk us through the highlights of what was our Q2 performance results. Patrick, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. I'm still smiling from that handsome comment there. Afternoon, everyone. It is indeed my pleasure to take you through JMMB financial performance for the 6-month period ended 30th September. It was an excellent performance, and just following up on the context from our annual general meeting that we had, it's really building on that strategy that we had communicated, mainly about growing our earnings through our core operations. Claudine just spoke to our banking and our investment arms. And also we spoke in our AGM about a regional diversification of our revenue stream to put JMMB Group on a very sound and strong footing. So I just want to take you through that and show just to highlight our performance for the 6-month period. In terms of our balance sheet performance, we would have seen significant growth in our balance sheet, growing to $562 billion in terms of total asset, a 9% growth, $48 billion to be exact. But it's not just the fact that our balance sheet saw growth, it's where are we getting that growth? And when we spoke to our underlying core values in terms of our balance sheet, we saw the loans growing by 10%, 11.5 billion in loan growth. Our investment portfolio growing by 14%, or 36 billion. So what we're seeing is that on the core of our balance sheet, we're growing in the areas of our core operations where we want to grow. And that was also funded by our deposits. We saw a 9% growth there to 140 billion, or 11.7 million in dollar value growth, and 27 billion in terms of our repos. So when you look at the JMMB Group balance sheet continuing from our annual performance, we see where we're growing in our core areas and where we strategically set out for growth. In terms of our funds under management, and what this speaks to is really how are we funding that balance sheet, just on and off balance sheet. I spoke to earlier about our deposit growth of 11.7 million. We're approximately 140 billion in deposits now. Repos of 254 billion, 26 billion in growth. But our off-balance sheet as well, and this refers to like our collective investment schemes, our unit trusts. Over the 6-month period, we saw growth from 146 billion to 179 million, growth of 33 billion, or 22%. So from a total perspective, both on and off balance sheet, we see the renewed confidence from our stakeholders in terms of investing in JMMB. And that growth has resulted in our excellent performance that I'm going to highlight shortly. In terms of our income statement, our profit and loss for the 6-month period. JMMB Group recorded net earnings, net profits of $5.4 billion, 127% increase year over year. And just to highlight, this $5.4 billion is our largest earnings that we have posted for a 6-month period in the history of the group. So I spoke to the growth in our core operations, and that is also borne out in our net earnings. You look at our revenues, $13.47 billion, up 25%. Our net interest income up 17%, to $5.82 billion. This is the earnings from the loans portfolio that I mentioned earlier, earnings, net interest income from our investment portfolio. And our trading opportunities, gain on securities trading, where we take positions in the market from our portfolio, that shows up 21% as well. Operating profit also up to $4.1 billion, 26%. So all in all the core areas of our earnings on our balance sheet, we saw a positive trajectory there. I must also mention our cap markets line, one of our newer business line, who performed very creditably over the period, $2.5 billion in revenue, a 66% growth over the period. And in the times when our client needs our services and to come up with solutions, the cap markets team have certainly played a significant role for the group, for the quarter, for the 6 months period. In terms of our expenses, and we will get into details around that in terms of certain strategic initiatives that we're executing. We would have seen growth in our expenses from $7.16 billion to $8.86 billion, a growth of $1.69 billion. That growth was mainly driven by our strategic initiative. We would have invested in certain project activities. This would have been a long-term strategic objective in terms of the group doing a standardization of the group throughout the region. Our digitization projects that we have invested in to better serve our clients, and coupled with that, our normal inflationary increases coming out of a COVID pandemic. We would have instituted that within the financial year, and that would have seen the increase in our expenses. Having said that, however, part of our mantra is to grow our revenues faster than our expenses. And while you would have seen that 25% growth in our revenue, we would have grown our revenues faster than expenses. And as a result of that, our efficiency ratio, which is a function of our operating expenses compared to our revenue, would have remained flat year over year at 66%. So while we would have increased our expenses, our efficiency ratio is still quite good at 66%. And this is something long-term we hope to improve and even become more efficient. Now, in terms of our capital, and this speaks to the strength of our balance sheet, you would have seen when you look at our balance sheet in terms of our capital, it would have reflected growth of $5.5 billion. Or $66.7 billion in capital. It shows the strength of JMMB's balance sheet. And that was mainly driven by our profits and the favorable movement on asset prices in terms of our investment portfolio, which I highlighted that growth. Needless to say, JMMB Group being a highly regulated entity regionally, all the entities within the group would have been adequately capitalized and above all the required benchmarks laid out by the regulators. So very importantly, it shows the strength of our balance sheet, and it highlights the quality of our earnings and the quality of where the growth is coming from in terms of our overall performance. Now, very importantly, I think we had highlighted it at our AGM, and just following up, in terms of, we spoke of a diversification strategy. in terms of not just within our business line, but in terms of regional diversification. And in terms of, we see we're now reaping the results of that diversification through our investments. 2 years ago, we would have invested in Sagicor Financial Company Limited. We took a 22.5% stake in Sagicor, and that investment for the 6-month period actually contributed $2 billion in earnings, which was 38% of our net earnings for the 6-month period. That investment now stands at approximately 40 billion Jamaican dollars. We have seen an increase in that percentage share from 22.5 to 23.22%. That increase was mainly as a result of SFC, Sagicor Financial Company, embarking on a share buyback program, and that resulted in our stake increasing from 22.5% to 23.2%. As I said, it contributed 2.1 billion, 38% of our earnings for the 6-month period. And also, very importantly, we actually realized approximately 805 million in terms of dividends from that investment. So it shows the somewhat success in terms of our regional diversification strategy and improving the JMMB Group's net earnings. I like to also touch on in terms of our business line diversification, because it's not just in terms of our regional, but how are we performing in terms of our respective business lines. And our business lines speak to our banking and our initial suite in terms of our investment and related products. On our investment line, we would have seen, and it's highlighted in the chart there, where we would have grown from 7.78 billion in revenue to 8.4 billion in revenue. 27% increase year over year. Our banking business line, I would have highlighted the growth in our loans portfolio on our balance sheet. It shows our revenue growing to $5.717 billion, 23% growth year over year, contribution of 38% in terms of our operating revenue. So our execution of our strategic initiatives, it shows improvement in our business line performance year over year, both in terms of revenues and in terms of profitability. And if we were to look at our diversification by country, that will also show excellent performance in terms of our DR, in the Dominican Republic, contributing 31% of our net profits, 1.68 billion in net earnings contributing for the 6-month period. Trinidad contributing approximately 377 million, 7%. The Sagicor investment, as I indicated, contributing 2 billion, and our Jamaica contributing an additional 25%, excluding our Sagicor investment. So overall, this picture is very important, fellow shareholders and investors, in terms of our stakeholders. Our diversification strategy at work and the success that it has brought for the JMMB Group. These are some of the highlights that I wanted to share with you. I think for the 6-month period, we have seen a continuation of our strategy coming out of our AGM. Our strategy continues to work for us. We continue to build on our core earnings. We continue to build on our regional diversification strategy and our business line strategy. And going forward, we expect continued success and improvement in our results. Having said that, I will hand you back over to Kerry who will, I think, will highlight in terms of, in a little more detail, some of that diversification strategy that I just spoke to. Kerry?
Thank you, Patrick. All right, so it's been a wonderful, wonderful period for us, and we're very happy to share the highlights of what would have already gone out to the market. And again, as Claudine would have started out, we are a regional entity, and we have our next section, which is also another demonstration of our regional reach and diversification. We have joining us from JMMB DR o Español JMMB de la República Dominicana, country head El Jefe, Juan Jose Mello, who is joining us live from the DR. Hello, Juan, how are you?
I am great. Thank you, Kerry, for that great introduction.
Thank you. Bienvenidos. Over to you. Please share.
Muchas gracias. So good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'll try to share with you some of the achievements from our DR subsidiaries. I think I need to start because it has become part of our life, talking a little bit about COVID-19 and what has happened in DR. Our central bank, as many other central banks, has focused their efforts in promoting GDP growth. And DR has reacted with a very fast recovery of the economy. I think we're going to end the year with double digits growth, and that it's positioning DR as one of the top economies in the region. And as part of that strategy, we've been working this year with very high liquidity levels, low interest rates. And we have prepared ourselves and set our goals in increasing our trading capabilities, and that has allowed us to generate more trading and take advantage of the market opportunities. And when we look at that, you're going to see that that has promoted increased results. But at the same time, we've been working, and I'm going to go a little bit more into detail later, we've been working in growing our core businesses. We have 4 business lines in DR: pensions, funds, our broker, what we call the Puesto de Bolsa, and our savings and loans bank. Right now, one of the things that was really key when developing our strategy, as I said, was to take advantage of the market opportunities. And together with our core business growth, like was mentioned previously, our savings and loans bank was the fastest growing bank in DR last year, mainly as a result of our strategy to support the SME segment, where we have grown 54% last year. I think also very important to highlight is that as we move forward, we have focused our efforts in delivering to our clients integrated solutions and diversified solutions. And we're very proud this year of launching our first sustainable energy fund, which is the first one in DR that is completely focused in renewable energy. As a country, we have a goal of generating 25% of the total demand of energy with renewable sources. So we feel that this fund is not only going to provide new and diverse solutions to diversify their portfolio to our clients, both individuals and institutions, but also it will bring support to our country and our society to achieve this very important goal of having a more sustainable energy matrix. I think very important also to highlight that as we grow our trading, we grew our core business, we've been able to manage our expenses, and that has generated improved efficiency of 40%. And the business, I think the goal right now, our key, has been to bring more clients, and we've been growing our client base. We're very proud that as of Q2, all of our entities are now in a profitable, and I mention all of our entities because our youngest company, which is the AFP, our pension business, which is part of a very elite group, a very elite sector. Only 7 companies provide pensions in DR. We don't expect to see any more licenses. So we have reached now the total AUM to have a break even, and we're very happy about that because having this pension scheme allows us to really deliver on our promise to our clients of having integrated financial solutions. And I would like to conclude my intervention by saying, and we're very proud about this, that as of Q2, our results have surpassed our performance for last year, for the full last year. As of Q2, we have surpassed that, and we expect to see very good results. Nonetheless, we're planning and preparing ourselves for what we expect to be a 2022 challenging because of the inflationary pressures around the world. Central banks are probably going to change their strategy, and we're probably going to see some rates increases. But we're very positive about what we have been achieving, and we see future growth for all the DR subsidiaries. Thank you for your time. Going back to Ms. Carey. Thank you.
Gracias, Juan Melo. Thank you very much. Wonderful, exciting things happening in the DR, and congratulations to you and your team there for your role in awesome results. So we are going into the final half of our presentation, wonderful things being shared, and we're going to go back to our Group Chief Strategy Officer, Claudine Tracy, who is going to continue in this section talking about looking ahead, our strategy and what is to come and all of the exciting things in store. Claudine, thank you so much. Again, back over to you.
Thank you, Kerry. Thank you so much. And in looking ahead and even looking at the performance to date, it's no surprise that our regional credit rating agency, Equities, would have reaffirmed our strong investment grade credit rating and has changed our outlook from stable to positive. And it's with that positive sentiment that we really look to the future and examine, the new goals that we have set ourselves up to really win and to improve value for our clients and our shareholders. And so we are actually in year one of a recently designed 5-year strategic plan. And in that strategy, we have a couple of areas of focus that our teams are, organized around. One of the most critical areas of focus, of course, is client partnership. And, really being able to deepen our partnership with our clients across all the segments that we serve. And, we serve retail clients, SMEs, which is an area that we have entered in and really performing well over the past couple of years, and we made our market entrance, and of course, corporate clients or institutional clients, etc. And so another area of focus is around building out our digital access channels and products. And of course, we know that there are exciting things in store that we will get into a little bit as we outline what the future looks like for JMMB Group. We also are laser focused around improving our operational efficiency. Patrick spoke to it. The fact that carrying down our operational efficiency ratio is critical for us as we seek to increase our revenues, but increase them in a very efficient manner so that we can continue to improve and to provide shareholder value. We are also focused around, as Patrick had set out as well, continuing to diversify our earnings and our risks across the region. It has worked very well for us over the years, and we will continue to do that through inorganic growth. And of course, lastly, but most importantly, we continue to focus around growing and developing our people, who is the catalyst behind achieving some of these areas of focus as we look towards our 5-year strategy. And so client partnership, if I could touch on that a little bit more, has over the years, since inception, been a core differentiator for us. We always seek to deepen client intimacy, improve our client experience, and support our clients in planning for their financial goals, journeying with them across their life cycle. We are aware that sometimes we have not delivered on the level of service that our clients deserve. We saw some client experience pain points manifested last year in Trinidad and Tobago, when we switched over our banking platform to the group standardized banking platform. And, there were also some other delivery channels and system channel issues in Trinidad and Tobago and in Jamaica. We are happy to say that we are way past the worst, and we're seeking to restore, and not just restore, exceed our experience in those impacted markets. We know that our clients keep us and hold us accountable to that, and these are promises that we don't want to break. We want to continue to keep and improve. In terms of our digital transformation strategy, we continue to, even in terms of deepening that client experience, we see this as a crucial foundation. We believe that, as with everything else, our digital channels have to be in the client's best interest. It has to be an easy and empowering and an enjoyable experience for our clients. And we have been taking time over the years to really build out these capabilities, that when we come to market, it comes to market with the level of quality and experience that our clients expect of us. And so we've been focused as well as building out our core payments capabilities. Our intention really is to roll out with leading cutting-edge technology across the group, technology that can empower our retail clients and empower our business clients, particularly in payments. We are a little bit late to the party. However, when we enter, we want to enter with impact, and we also want to make a difference. And as we set ourselves up to be able to perform in the financial services of the future, we want to be able to offer payment solutions that offer convenience for our clients, offer cheaper payment methodologies for our clients as we build out both traditional and alternative payment products. And to this end, we've actually set up, or in the process of setting up, an alternative payments division that will be focused around leading us digitally into new payment solutions that is in keeping with client trends across the world and will improve the experience that our clients will have with JMMB. And so as we continue to look ahead, specifically on digital capabilities that we want to roll out within this financial year, in Q3 and in Q4, one of which is online onboarding. We're very excited about this. We want to be able to empower our clients to start their relationships with us online without coming into branch. And so we've been placing a lot of effort in the design, and we hope to roll this out in this financial year. Another thing that our clients have been clamoring for is our mobile app. As we said at our AGM, this app is being developed and it will be launched this financial year. Between this financial year and next, it will be a hub for all things JMMB. It will be a special place to interact with us. We will see money line being featured in our app, as well as other features that will enhance the experience with us. For our clients in Jamaica, you would have seen that we have started to roll out our intelligent ATMs, and we are on the brink of rolling out in Trinidad and Tobago, and will eventually roll out in the Dominican Republic. These ATMs have new features which we've seen very strong reviews from our clients thus far. So things like tap and transact feature, the ability to do cash deposits, and of course check deposits, and of course withdrawals in local and USD. And so, these are just some of the things. I should also mention our digital assistant. We want to also be able to utilize AI to support our clients in our unique JMMB way that only JMMB can and will do. And so we look forward into rolling out our digital assistant to support our clients. So these are just some of the few digital capabilities that we are building as we realize that a fundamental part of our strategy, particularly coming out of COVID, the COVID pandemic shock, and how we have been forced to reimagine how we serve our clients, really form a critical part of really, carrying us towards that financial services of the future that we want to continue to serve our clients and to serve them well. So that's basically, from a strategic focus perspective, what we are looking ahead for as the group. Thank you, Kerry.
Okay, thank you, Claudine. It's always great to talk about the future and to share all of the wonderful things that JMMB has in store, not only for our clients, but certainly to the benefit of all of our stakeholders. And now we're going to be moving into the final section of the main presentation here. Well, the only presentation, but certainly the main one for today's briefing. I was about to say good morning because we've been really excitedly preparing for it, but it's actually in the afternoon right now, but we're moving into the final section. But before I do so, I just wanted to remind all of our attendees here who may have questions, please click on the Q&A tab and type your questions, because once we're finished with this final section, then we're going to be opening up the floor to take questions from our attendees. So please feel free to go ahead and do that. And then our final section is going to be done by none other than our beloved group CEO, and he's wearing so many hats all over the place, but yes, he's still very much our group CEO, Mr. Keith Duncan. How are you, Sir Keith? Great to have you.
Ariane, thank you very much. And thank you to the team. Good presentation so far, in terms of bringing our strategy to life for the media community and the analyst community and the social media community that we know are real active around, creating and finding value, not necessarily creating, but finding value and having real thorough discussions that really educate the market and educate those who want to have a entry into the investments game, and these participants really do a great job of educating, and and especially in terms of the equities markets, and we believe it is important that, and information is key to that, and we got the feedback. We got the feedback from our board. We got the feedback from our shareholders that we need to be more, have greater communication and dialogue with the analysts, this community, the media community, and really be able to break down our strategy, share, give greater insight, have them get an appreciation of where we're going. And we're going to be doing this investor briefing on a quarterly basis just to keep everyone informed. Where are we? How are we doing? What are the challenges that we're facing? What are the opportunities that we're seeing? And how are we moving along our trajectory? So thank you all for attending. Really appreciate it. And let me just jump into my piece now. So I think over the last year or two, that JMMB, we first, when COVID hit, we moved into a defensive strategy immediately to protect capital, protect our clients, protect our liquidity, to ensure that we were in a good place and had a solid foundation to build on. As soon as we were able to sort ourselves through, we moved and we said, no, we're now going to learn to live with COVID. We're going to be able to coexist with COVID and build our business, look for opportunities, and really push ahead. And that has borne out in terms of our numbers year over year. Even in a COVID year, we did extremely well. And even better than our pre-COVID numbers. And again, we're now, for the first 6 months of this year, we're now actually growing year over year very significantly. Impressive growth from a group. And that's because our focus is growth, while protecting capital, while protecting liquidity, while ensuring that our clients are protected along the way. And for that reason, we really and truly focus around our clients, because without our clients, there's no growth. So therefore, financial partnership, as Claudine just said, is the most important element to our growth. Being in the world of our clients, ensuring that their experience is good, ensuring that the conversations that we have with our clients are meaningful and move them towards achieving their objectives from an individual, through a small and medium enterprise, through a corporate. We are focused around ensuring that our clients actually grow, and if they grow, we grow. So financial partnership and that experience is important to us, and our strategy is focused in that area. So therefore, when we look at in terms of the solutions that we have been brought to the table, now 10, 15 years ago, JMMB was primarily an investment company. We took a deliberate decision, that we wanted business line diversification. We moved into the DR and Trinidad approximately 14, 15 years ago because we wanted country diversification, and we moved in with the investments. We then looked to expand our suite of business lines into investments and banking, and we also added new business lines, including insurance broker in Jamaica, remittances, and other business lines that complement and diversify our source of earnings of revenues. So that was we are built out now at integrated financial services, integrated solutions. So as we progress, with financial partnership being at the foundation of what we do, we then look to know, how do we now integrate all these products and services into solutions, bundle them, bring them together. When we are engaging with our clients, we are looking at them and selling solutions across all business lines, not a silo approach, across all business lines. And therefore, we look to configure our organizational structure and the way we interface with our clients through segments. And therefore, we have a segment approach from a retail, SME, individual, corporate, where we now ensure that our clients are getting solutions across business lines, and we configured our teams around delivering in this way and creating products and services appropriate to those segments. We would have seen that in the SMEs over the last couple of years. Now, we had to enable this with technology. Now, knowing that we had bought and we had startups right across the region, we had a hodgepodge of different systems, platforms, etc., and we had to pull it together. And therefore, we had to make investments in technology, and we continue to do so. And therefore, we had to look to see how our platforms could be standardized across the region, and we started with banking. And as Claudine spoke to, in Trinidad, we had those challenges last year because we're standardized on the platform. And again, we apologize. Our marketing manager in Trinidad was able to really be open and honest. And so was our group marketing manager in Jamaica, where we did have those challenges. And we apologized to our clients and said, we know we have had these challenges. We acknowledge, and there's no excuses, and we're looking to up our game and to ensure that we can deliver to the expectations that our clients have, and we have made those transitions, and we're really happy that that's behind us. Digital services, when we look at where this world is going and the kind of disruption that's occurring in the financial markets, how do we stay relevant? How do we ensure that JMMB 10 years time, 5 years time is ahead of the curve, and that we are proactively building out our model towards the financial services of the future? And we went through an exercise with our innovation 10X, led by Mr. Sheldon Poe, and we defined and looked at what financial services in the future could look like. And then we built a roadmap to see how we get there to ensure that JMMB stays relevant and cutting edge and ahead of the curve. That has been very important to us. And as a result of that, we have separated our digital focus in terms of from our IT investment, information technology area, in a way that we have resourced that area on as almost a standalone to drive investments in the digital to bring solutions. And Claudine went through that earlier. We have Mr. Gifford ranking online. He heads our digital area, and he's fast, quick, and moving things in the right direction. There are areas that we have been able to move fast on in terms of, our own online trading platform on Moneyline, which is really a solution that I think the market has a deep appreciation for. But this is how we want to win in all the various areas. And Claudine would have spoken to some of those areas earlier. We speak to regional diversification and, how important that is. And we have seen that the DR performance this year being 31% of net earnings, and a really focused team in the Dominican Republic under the leadership of Mr. Juan Melo, who is doing a fantastic job in terms of driving, and the team, a nice cohesive team in terms of driving results, focused, strategic, and building out the business lines, as one host that would have spoken to earlier, across the different business lines. As he said, funds management with our SAFI, securities with our Puerto de Bolsa, our savings and loan bank, and that was, we have acquired several banks to get to this point where our savings and loan bank is doing so well, and then our pensions business, which is, we are very sure that down the road is going to deliver sustainable long-term growth to the JMMB Group. So we really do feel good. We have built partnerships in the DR. We have really good shareholder relationships and are doing quite well in that regard. Now, when you look at diversification, we have country, and Trinidad continues to contribute significantly to the bottom line. And we are also really focused around now building out the team to ensure that we can continue to deliver in Trinidad. Trinidad had a tough year last year with COVID. However, they have bounced back this year, and we're looking forward for greater and greater results going forward. And they have had, as I said, a good performance for the first 6 months of the year. So when you look at the banking and business line, and not only that, remittances, insurance brokerage, and all of these other business lines. Remittance is actually a star performer in Jamaica, and it's becoming the vehicle through which we're going to drive alternative payments. And doing that business line has grown significantly over the last 5 years, contributing significantly to profits. So we have to acknowledge that the JMMB Money Transfer, for the work that they have done, and that they are on the cutting edge of payments and moving us in that direction. When we look at an investment, like when we talk about diversification, we look at Sagicor and our investment in Sagicor. Now, Sagicor is also a story of diversification. Sagicor you have the Sagicor USA, you have Sagicor the Eastern Caribbean, and you have Sagicor Jamaica. That represents diversification in a real way. So therefore, when you look at our earnings and our diversification, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Trinidad, then you have Sagicor in terms of their presence in other countries. Then we have a real regional diversification and the business line diversification across all the business lines that we have spoken to. So our strategy is very clear what we are about, and we're going to continue down that path and continue to look for opportunities in the M&A area to build out that strategy. So that kind of sums up, where our strategy is, why is it working for us, and how that we will continue to grow. Because, if you have diversification, if earnings dip in a particular area, you find that earnings pick up in another area. Like last year, Sagicor didn't do so well in the first 6 to 9 months of the year. However, other areas were able to do well. This year, Sagicor is doing well, and all areas are actually doing quite well this year, leading to record profits for the first 6 months of the year. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when we look at, the value proposition, and when we look at the rating agencies and what they have said about us in COVID, in relationship to reaffirming and giving us an upgrade in our outlook to positive, that suggests that they are seeing diversification as key, and our risk profile is reduced in a real way, and therefore, it represents a good value proposition for shareholders. Now, our shareholders have to really look to keep up with our, this is the credit worthiness. Claudine spoke to it earlier in terms of our CARICRIS rating. And the ratings in the DR, because we have been able to rate business lines, our funds, our bank, and our quest to the Bolsa. And this is all like investment grade kind of great ratings here. So we're all moving in the right direction. So capital strong, the rating agencies are recognizing it. The diversification is there, regional, business line, and earnings diversification. We represent a strong value proposition. And our earnings are growing, but the markets aren't keeping up with our earnings. So when you look at our price to book in relationship to financial services as it trades on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, we see that JMMB is trading at a discount to market, and this one may because we're moving too fast for you guys, but you're saying, is this really real? It's real because we have that diversification in our earnings. So when you look at our price to book, we are trading at 1.13 as at November 12th, price to book, and while the market is trading at in the financial services are trading at 2.22 times book. So we represent value in the market, undoubtedly real value in the market, and we should really not be trading all the way down here, guys. Next slide. So if we were to look at where we are as a group and our earnings trajectory over the last 10 years or so. Now, when you look at, our accumulated average growth rate over the years have been around close to 14%, 13.8%. However, when you look at, if you were to project forward and look at our earnings going forward at accumulated average growth rate of a conservative 8%, then you would see where our profits would be in 2025, 2026. We expect that we could be at $10 billion with, and this year is looking like, it's looking like, $5 billion for the first 6 months. So, conservatively, we're projecting that this is where we'd be at our earnings per share of $5.22 in 2025, 26. It's a real conservative, but this is there to demonstrate the value that we're creating and the kind of earnings growth and growth that you can expect from JMMB conservatively. Next slide, please. So, as we said, our regional diversification business line diversification strategy will continue to drive inorganic growth. So we have an active business development portfolio where we have several, at least 5 to 10 entities that we're looking at actively at all times, deciphering where the opportunities are, where do we need to go, and how do we look to extract value? How does it integrate with our operations? How does it add to the diversification of earnings? And we do have, acquisitions that are in the pipeline, but we know we have to go through the regulatory stuff, and we can't tell you too much. But they're actively in the pipeline, and you're always right there with the regulators. But we will get there, and we suspect that we would close maybe 2 opportunities this year. So therefore, our strategy continues, and it continues to bear fruit. We're seeing the results of a focused strategy around integrated financial services, offering solutions across business lines to our clients, deepening financial partnership, diversification of revenue streams, regional diversification, right? While ensuring that JMMB can be relevant in the future by ensuring that we understand where financial services is going and how we are going to play in that space and continue to make a difference in the life of our clients and continue to create value for our shareholders. So I'd like to thank you all again for listening in and joining us today. And I think we're going to move to Q&A. And Carrie Ann, thank you very much. And thank you to the team. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Keith. I really appreciate your presentation, and as always, we continue to be grateful for you as our group CEO and all of what you do and the awesome team that you lead. And yes, folks, that concludes the main presentation for this afternoon's briefing. As you can see, it's been a wonderful period of performance for us, with exciting things having been accomplished and exciting things ahead. And we're now going to move quickly into the Q&A session. And of course, we see questions in our Q&A window. So again, please go and click on the Q&A window and type your question there. If you have any questions for us, what we do have questions coming out the gate, and our support team of panelists, whether they would have been a main presenter or not, they are standing by to respond to what we anticipate could be a breadth of questions. So thank you so much. Now, the first question we're going to kick off with, actually two persons, great minds are thinking alike. Carlisle Allen. Hi, Carlisle. Thank you so much for joining us. Carlisle came in out the gate. Congratulations on the brilliant results so far this year. Thank you, Carlisle. Carlisle appreciates the great work being done by the team and is asking us to provide some details, if we can, on the share buyback and any other approaches that would maybe taken to stimulate share price. And David Rose also asked a similar question for an update. So I'm going to invite our Group Chief Investment Officer, Damian Brown, one of our panelists, to respond to that particular question. Damian? I'm going to bring him up shortly. I think he's on mute. I'm seeing him, but he's probably muted. Are you able to unmute your microphone?
Not seeing him on the screen. You seen him on the screen?
Oh, I'm seeing him. Maybe there's a delay, but I'm seeing him in the panelist window. So what we'll do is, if maybe someone can see if they can assist Damian, we'll jump to the next question. The next question came from David Rose again. Hi, David. Thank you again for joining us here today. David's specific question was around securities trading. Securities trading gains fell while operating expenses rose. But JMMB, I think he means probably Q2. But as a result, profit before tax was down 60% to $387.71 million. What's happening? Patrick is going to take that one. It's now out of my pay grade completely, so I'll hand it over to Patrick.
Excellent, very good question, and I'm so glad that David raised that question, and it speaks to the diversification that we are talking about. So the question is related to Jamaica Money Market Brokers Limited, our subsidiary, domiciled in Jamaica, and what that is saying really is that we would have, the markets in Jamaica would have been somewhat impacted by the COVID-19, and you would have seen a reduction in the gains on securities trading in Jamaica. But where that was offset is where in Dominican Republic, for example, where we took advantage of those opportunities in terms of the securities gains. So yes, we were impacted in Jamaica by the gains on securities trading. On the expense line in Jamaica Money Market Brokers, we spoke to the investment, the long-term investment in our standardization. We also mentioned the digitization, and we mentioned our financial reporting platform that we're doing throughout the group. So most of those costs would have been there in Jamaica Money Market Brokers Limited. However, in terms of if you look at our results year over year, the prior year numbers would have included our results from JMMB International, our subsidiary. So through our reorganization of the group, that subsidiary is now a direct ownership of JMMB Group Limited that now owns the Sagicor investment. So as a result of that, if you were compare like with like, you would be at approximately at another 400 million to that. So no, it's not that the JMMB Group, we're ignoring the performance. It's a factor of one, market conditions on the gains and securities trading line in Jamaica. Two, our investment in our long-term strategic initiatives in terms of those one-off upfront costs. But on a like-for-like and a transfer of a related subsidiary, which is no longer in JMMB Limited's result, but directly a subsidiary of the group. But when you compare that like with like, you're about 200 million off year over year, which is as a result of the fall off in the gains and securities trading line. However, we would have made that up through our regional diversification, through gains and securities trading in other areas and other business lines as well. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Patrick. My apologies, David. I misread your question because you're right. He meant JMMB, not JMMB Group. My apologies. Thank you, David. I tell you, that certain things I admit are for the pundits, like David and Patrick. Thank you so much for that answer, Patrick. Now, I believe we may have gotten back Damien for the share buyback question. Is he back? Hi,
Yes,
Damien.
I am. Thank you so much, Karen. And in response to that question is that as our group CEO indicated, that we consider the share price to be materially below its intrinsic value, and that's borne out when we look at other independent reports around the JMMB Group. And as such, as was communicated at the AGM, management is providing a proposal to the group board for its consideration, and we anticipate that that will occur before the end of the calendar year.
Thank you, Damien. All right, so good news there. And I think there's another popular question because the questions are coming in fast and furious. But as we were preparing for this presentation today, we knew another popular question, which has actually come up already in the Q&A, is about dividends, right? And we know all shareholders love to hear about dividends. So I'm going to hand back over to Patrick to deal with that question right now. Patrick?
All right. So in terms of the dividends, our stakeholders would have known that we were somewhat restricted based on the restriction placed through the regulatory arm. That was lifted, and in September of this financial year, we actually paid 60 cents in dividends, which amounted to $1.17 billion. That's end of September. That was an interim dividends. With the restrictions now lifted, it is the group's intention to go back on our regular cycle. We normally do that between December and June. We would not be able to make, and just to say and clarify that the board will be considering dividends at its November board meeting. So one, the board will be considering a possible dividend payment in its November board meeting. And two, the group do intend to go back on its regular cycle in terms of dividend payments, now that the restrictions have been lifted.
All right, exciting news ahead. Thank you so much, Patrick. And there is another question here from David, just asking for an update on any acquisitions that would have been mentioned from before. Keith, are you able to speak to that for us?
I would love to give further details, but my group compliance manager, Karen Acosta, is and she would have my head. You know, just to say, I think where our focus is we are way down the road in terms of opportunities that we are in the regulatory process around, and that is all I can say to you at this point in time, David, and to fellow analysts.
Absolutely. So as we are in a position to share details within the confines of the regulatory requirements, then we will certainly do so. Absolutely, Keith. Thank you again for your question, David. Now, there is a question here around Trinidad and Tobago. So as Keith certainly would have mentioned in his presentation, is coming from David, the COVID period for Trinidad was quite challenging, as Keith would have mentioned. And so David is asking about outlook for Trinidad, and do we anticipate that lending will be spurred further in line with any possible recovery that may be taking place in the economic environment there? I'm not sure who would be able to take that.
I think Jerome could take that one. Jerome Smalling.
Right,
he has
Jerome.
heads of activity at the group level and has been providing leadership in Trinidad and has made some real adjustments over the period.
Yes, welcome, Jerome. Has your accent changed to Trini yet? Trinbagonian.
No, girl.
Welcome.
So, of course, the impact of COVID on the TT economy would have been significant, as it would have been around the world. But particularly in TT, because there are a number of measures that included full-time lockdown. So the strategy team refreshed our strategy, and we plugged the gaps to address operations while embedding our financial partnership culture. We're now in the process of recruiting a new country CEO for JMMB Bank. And we are currently, as Keith would have mentioned, myself, whose primary responsibility is that of CEO for Jamaica, as well as head of banking business line, would have been working in Trinidad along with the senior leadership team in an effort to kickstart. We're providing strategic and operational support. We have deployed, however, a country head of client partnership. His name is Jason Batiste. We took him away from Scotiabank. He was appointed in the third quarter of the year. He is responsible for rolling out and embedding our integrated financial services model and streamlining our financial partnership process with full responsibility for frontline sales team. So that would include our investment company in Trinidad. All three entities in TT achieved their results ahead of budget for the first half of the financial year, and the group operations in TT are thus anticipated to have a positive close to our financial year. Thanks.
Thank you, Jerome. And it's wonderful to look to the future with all the positive expectations of the recovery coming out of what has been a very challenging period for Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed all of us here in the Caribbean, and we are very happy and have a lot of positive expectancy about the future. Now, a quick question from David. It probably could bounce back quickly to Damien. Would an EGM be required for a buyback? I guess this is just probably a question around structure and regulatory requirements. Damien, can you say?
And EGM is not required for a share buyback in terms of the proposal we're looking to put forward, but all the details regarding amount, timing, and structure of our share buyback will be communicated once the board has duly had the time to review the management's recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. So there is a question here that I am seeing about JMMB in its quest to exploit, I'm reading the question here, in its quest to exploit Central American interest, had said last year that it would have shifted some of its key management personnel to countries such as Costa Rica. Can you give us an update on the progress of that to date and the company's plans for that market? I believe Claudine was to take that question, or Group Strategy Officer. Claudine.
No, I'm seeing my boss, so go right ahead, Keith.
No, Claudine, I will support you. I will support you, Claudine. I will support you.
All right, no problem.
Yes, Claudine.
So we did earmark Central America as an area of interest for us. When the pandemic hit, we paused our exploration of that market. Since then, we definitely, in our medium to long-term outlook, remain interested in that market. We did divert resources at the time when we were looking at Central America pre-COVID. So it remains on our radar going forward, as does general countries and areas in this region.
Okay, thank you very much, Claudine, for that update. And again, like all of our future plans of that kind of nature, we will certainly disclose developments as we are able to do so within the confines of the regulations. Now, I think we're going to take our final question here from David. Hi, David. Thank you so much for your active participation. David asks, with inflation worries rising, especially amid the global disruption, will JMMB Group be seeking more foreign investments with possibly greater yield as the Jamaican equities market remains lukewarm, he says? That's a question. I don't know if Damien can take that, or Patrick. I mean, we have so many wonderful minds here.
That's a Damien question.
Damien, could you jump in again? Thank you.
We look to diversify within the context of our risk profile, and we have to take into account regulatory considerations as well. But just as we have looked to diversify our business in terms of our strategic locations, we do diversify our portfolio based on our funding profile, regulatory considerations, and definitely where the opportunities are. Over the years, we have generated significant capital gains where market opportunities allow us, and we will continue to pursue those as the opportunities arise.
Thank you so much, Damien. And of course, folks, that concludes a wonderful, wonderful session here this morning. We're so grateful for each and every one of you who took the time from your very busy day to join us live. And again, this session has been recorded, so we're going to be making it available on our YouTube channel for viewing at your convenience. If you missed anything, and certainly once it's there, you can share it with anyone who may be interested. But we are very, very happy that not only did you take the time to join us, but for your continued participation and interest in JMMB Group and our performance, our growth, and our future plans. And on behalf of the entire leadership team and JMMB family, wide, far, near, across the region, thank you so much. I also would like to thank the support team here. There is a busy room, well, within protocols, a very busy room of persons who brought this to you live and prepared the recordings as well. Thank you to all of our panelists and presenters who so busily prepared and put everything together, the marketing team who managed the logistics here today, and of course, again, to all of our support panelists who would have answered questions. And to everyone, we continue to wish you safety and all the best. We won't see you like this before the holiday season, so wishing you and yours a very peaceful and abundant holiday season. And God's willing, we will see you all in the new year. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and look forward to seeing you again soon.